version of it. It's a totally different tune, but the same name.
The West Cork Gold Ring.
The West Cork Gold Ring. Does that make any sense to you? Just it's not the gold ring. Your turn to talk.
Oh yeah. So we're going to continue on with the set of reels. The first one's called the Coal Miners, and the second one's called the Bog Cart. Apparently, was it Jackie D that composed the third part?
Yeah, I remember asking him, did he know a tune called the Bog Cart? And he said, why wouldn't I? Didn't I add the third part to it? So, yeah. That was it, Right, can we try to do flings or polkas or flings there?
So we're going to do a couple of flings now. The first one is you'd usually hear it as a really I think it's called the strawberry blossom or strawberry something. Anyway, and the second one is a tune I learned from the playing of Ella Mae Dwyer, a concertina player who was originally from West Limerick but lived in Arby's in West Cork. And this tune is called Behind the Ditch in Park Anna, which Park Anna is somewhere near Bantry, I think. I don't know what was going on there, but anyway.
set of tunes. These are 2 jigs. And there was a guy turned up in Cork called Gary Walsh from outside Manchester. He lived there all his life, and he was a good flute player, very good. And he came in all excited to sit into the sessions in Cork. And he was sitting there with the flute, and he was listening to all the tunes. He didn't know any of them. And then we'd ask him to play tunes, and we'd be sitting there listening to his tunes. And he said, well, these are all West Cork tunes. My grandfather was from Skibbereen. And none of us had ever heard of them. So they obviously disappeared with the immigration after the famine, you know. There's a huge amount of music lost from that area. And so these are 2 jigs that and we recorded an album of them actually, because we just said these are too important to let go. What was the album? What was it called? Anyway, it was all obscure tunes that had been lost. And I remember he telling me his mother and father, they often argued over parts of the tune, and they'd be on the phone didling the tune down to each other and saying, it's not like that, it's like this. Anyway, this is the first of these jigs is called The Road to Cork, and the second one is Back to Skibbereen. Right. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. He told me that his grandfather used to play this in the air raid shelters during the Second World War, and that I was to play it slow at the start and then get into it, you know, just to calm people down. But I won't play it slow.
I'm going to sing some, so it's called Gleancombe, and Gleancombe is a place near Grenna in near Blarney. And it's the story of a man who meets this girl. He's got this idea of this beautiful girl, and she's going to fall in love with him. Anyway, if it was nowadays, it would be like he'd be a dirty old man, really. So he approaches her anyway, and she tells him clear off himself. So.
Was there an age difference?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Vi kia pleir vallechi selaken marelten Skoiding shagafirins geminnig salo Shemelen nach sevrank no is sasen om berlen na kind of me thing Sarah M'chwail trid yn mailig ar y bain yn fewn condo Gomach mae dyn dawnig yr ifnolig fôn Siai acas yn einir garchail ys mae fiolei Gysyn dy moel dan sy'n chynnydd Doch redos na chynnydd is chyrws chan blort le Is capus gan dawd fen o ffocyr gyffoi Arwn yils y chwm Dryd yn sanolen is nicht am gan chlomper cawyl dy fio Doriagyr yn maner gafar gach nawydwch Ach yn nach tawla yn tŵym fio Na tarm gyrr ceig ar diag ar am lawyd ledyn y tawl Bian neig tagus cwmnog Nach wylis y godsig o'n bod y tardiant yn iffyr yn fawn lag Dei asgif bannog Sta am wish gynerter gardif yn dy chramsa Sna pwr fain chawir dym chan graffan ar ôl Da Julius y corcig is ciawn fyr na blarnen Sneer stagus yn starsyn Gynais er y bol Chies gytwyn mela is gytiab ar y dorn Ste Julius y lan de himpel roi Dyn sies yw hanner garaws I gan taile Floch kila harnes gachai tele ahor Is this awil ni aka gar chas as mai truf Linter going cart agus beamish egol
We didn't play any polka, is it?
Yeah.
Huh?
You're
What's the middle one? Alright, we play. These are two of mine. The first one's called The New Roundabout. And before Google Maps, you come into a town and you'd ask directions and you go down as far as the new roundabout. And so I christened it. And then the second one is The Trip to Baltimore. We departed from the list now.
We're going to continue on with a couple of hornpipes now. And the first one is my own composition and it's called Band and Bridge Hornpipe. And the second one is called McCarthy's. I went into the wrong hornpipe, and the second one is called Welch's instead of McCarthy's. But anyway, sure,
They're all right. Yeah, they're very similar to each other. The pair of slides.
I learned these from my mother, so these are 2 slides. They were, well, I think they're kind of played other places as well, but it's a different version of them. So.
Not as well. Sullivan, these are called after. I think he was a hair cutter by day. He used to travel around on a donkey seemingly, and wherever he'd stop in for the night, he'd take out the fiddle and he'd play away. These were 3 barn dances. Right? The second one is Phil Murphy from Wexford, harmonica player. He lived down the road from Cullinsdown Beach, and he called the tune The Trip to Cullinsdown. And the first tune I named after a pub in the city called the Phoenix. And I used to sneak in there when I was 17, going on 67. And Mary Willis, the famous Willis family, they lived upstairs. And I'd ask Mary, I'd love a pint, Mary, you'll get a half pint, she said. And then I'd sip that. There was a session going on in the room at the back, that's why it was that great music. And I'd go to her aunt, then Auntie, and I'd say, pint there now, Auntie, you'll get a half pint. And she'd go and consult then with Mary to make sure that I hadn't had one other before that, you know, so I used to get 2 half pints until I qualified. But anyway, it was a great pub. There was a room at the back, and it was a great pub for tunes back in the 70s. Yeah. So the Phoenix Tree and the Trip to Cullinsdown. I started to make a record with Jerry Harrington, a fiddle player living up in Sligo, originally from Maire, and I think we managed to record 3 polkas, and that was it. Yeah, it was funny. Yeah. Jerry reckon he had a studio in his house, like to separate. He had mattresses up on their side. And are you right there now, Jerry? You're playing away, and next thing his dog would walk around. Didn't work out. We'll go back to it. So these are 3 polkas, if I can remember. Yeah. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much.